Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Takeaway Tip Tuesday, and it is Tuesday, May 22nd. I'm your host, Ramona Remisat, intuitive guidance coach, angel therapy practitioner, speaker, and co-author of 2 Amazon bestsellers, and thank you for tuning in and for being here today. I hope you guys all had an amazing weekend. We had a long weekend here in Canada. Of course, many people were glued to their TV sets watching the royal wedding, which is absolutely awesome to see. I love that stuff. So I really enjoyed to tune in and see all of that as it unfolded. And we just had such amazing weather this weekend. We had a little fire last night out in our fire pit, the first one of the season, and there was a rainbow, and it was just great, like an amazing weekend. So yay for that. And now it's Tuesday, we're back at work, and it's Takeaway Tip Tuesday. So today I'm answering the question, what happens if we ignore our inner guidance? And this is a good one because sometimes people have in their head, or they've felt from personal experience that, they may have ignored some inner guidance and then felt kind of shut out, from the universe, or felt that, they were getting the silent treatment from the universe, right? And to address that, I just want to say, the universe is always giving us guidance. We're constantly getting it 24/7. If somebody felt that they didn't listen and had maybe an outcome that, wasn't ideal, it's not that the universe is punishing you. It's not that you're getting shut out. You're probably getting guidance, but because of some block that you've created around that, you're not picking it up, right? So it's not that, you're getting, like I said, punished for not listening. In fact, the universe, our guidance system, that comes to us from our team, right? Our angels, our guides, our deceased loved ones, that's always coming through, and it's actually got a built-in, almost like way for us to not ignore it because it comes repeatedly. So they know we're going to miss it, right? In fact, that's what happens most of the time. It takes a few times before we kind of catch on that we're receiving guidance, and then we're like, okay, now I know I need to pay attention to this, right? So that's in fact how we can know that we are getting guidance, is because it repeats. So it's not like you miss it once, you're going to be like, that was your only shot, right? That's not how it works. So I want to break down some different scenarios, because what happens when we ignore our guidance really depends on what the purpose of that guidance was, because it comes through for different reasons. So sometimes guidance comes through to help us hone or build our intuitive muscle. Sometimes it comes through because it needs to course correct us. We're kind of straying off the path and it needs to correct us. Sometimes guidance comes through because it's a matter of life and death, and if you don't listen, it's not going to be a good outcome, right? So when we don't follow the guidance in those situations, like I said, depends on what the purpose of the guidance really was in the first place. So let's start with the guidance that comes through to help us build our intuitive muscle. So this is the, it's subtle, right? Guidance is usually very subtle. These are like the little whispers, that little voice that we have, or that gut feeling that we have, or kind of like a knowingness that maybe, this job or this client or the relationship that I'm in isn't quite the thing for me, right? And yet we've all had that instance, we've ignored that guidance and we've gone forward, right? And what we learned from that, and hopefully the takeaway from that, is like, hey, I should have listened, right? Or next time I'm definitely going to listen, because as our guidance was trying to show us, in fact, that was true. That was the case. That job, that client, that relationship wasn't for you, and you probably had a bit of a crappy outcome as a result of not listening, right? So it's this not testing, it is practicing, right? So it's like, we get the guidance and we trust it and we follow it and we see what happens. Sometimes we get the guidance and we don't trust it or follow it, and then we see what happens over there. And over time, we see where our better success rate is, right? It's like a child learning about its environment. It's going to fall down a few times and it learns, if I do this, this is what happens, so it doesn't do that anymore, right? So this is the kind of thing that the universe is often putting in front of us so that we can learn and, like I said, take away something from that experience and help us to strengthen our intuitive muscles. So the next time when that little nudge or that inkling comes, we're like, oh, I'm going to listen. Even if it doesn't make sense or it seems a little bit weird, it might be a perfectly sunny day and you feel like, hey, I feel like I need to take an umbrella. Maybe next time you will, right? Because you've seen, like I said, over time, where you're having a better success rate in terms of listening and following that guidance. Hi, Pam. Nice to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. So that's what I call guidance that's helping us to build our intuitive muscle, right? So when we don't listen to that, it's not like anything drastic happens. Yeah, we might have a not so great outcome, but we've learned something from that and it's helping us for the next time, right? The second kind of guidance that comes through, like I said, comes through because it's trying to course correct us. And this one is usually more persistent and a little bit louder. So this is like that strong feeling or idea that we get or knowingness that we just need to make a change in our life in some way, shape, or form. So it might be like you're really not happy in your career and it's not in alignment with who you are at the deepest soul level and you want to go and do something different. But, like anything, there's maybe some hesitation around that or some fear around that. So you're not sure. Right? But it's there, it doesn't let go. And it's like, kind of like, eating away at you. And like I said, that's how we know something is guidance, because it repeats. So if you don't listen to that one, then it will tend to get louder and louder. And what I mean by that, not actually like auditorily louder, but it will bring things in a way that you kind of really can't ignore it anymore. So maybe you're already having this feeling like, I really don't want to do this anymore. But I don't know, right? So then the first wave of guidance might come through and it might be like all of a sudden now you're seeing ads or some marketing material for, a school or program that's offering the kind of training that you really do want to take, right? And you're like, oh, okay. But you still don't really take any action on that. So it might come a little bit louder. Then it might be like a friend of yours who you haven't shared this information with that you're thinking of going in a direction, out of the blue might say something like, you know what? I don't think, I know you're not really happy in your job, but you know what you'd be great at? And then they share with you that thing that you're already thinking of doing, right? So that's like going to catch you because you're like, well, shoot, I didn't tell anybody about that. And like, here they are bringing it forward, right? So it's going to be a little bit louder. Sometimes we might get guidance like, course correcting us because we're very bad at picking up the signs and signals that our body is telling us, right? Like maybe, you're working really hard and, you can't keep going that way. And again, like I said, that guidance comes through because you need to course correct or make some changes. So you're picking up, I need to slow down. I need to take better care of myself. But of course we don't. So it's going to, like I said, the guidance will get louder. And that might show up in experiencing something physically where you're forced to slow down. Had a friend of mine go through this. She actually ended up with pneumonia, right? So it's like she was in bed, like she couldn't do anything. So it was like, we are going to make you listen, right? I had this several years ago where I was getting that same kind of guidance. Slow down, slow down, slow down. I was like, okay, yeah. And then I ended up getting a speeding ticket. So it was that literal translation of slow down, right? So that's what I mean by it coming a little bit louder. So when you ignore that course correcting guidance, it will just keep amping up until it's kind of like right here and you can't ignore that anymore. Now, I'm not trying to scare you and say that, oh gosh, if I don't listen, something bad's going to happen. That is really, a judgment term, right? Because in the moment you might go, dang it, I didn't really want that speeding ticket. But when you get through to the other side, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm glad that happened, right? And going back to our example of the person who isn't happy in their career and wants to make a change, if they're also not listening to that guidance, they might get let go. And it's kind of like the universe really gave them a nudge, like, we knew you weren't going to do it on your own, so we're going to do it for you. And in the moment, you're like, right? Like that might not seem optimal, but so many people that I've talked to have said, oh my gosh, that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I wasn't able to make that step on my own, right? So if you're feeling like you're getting guidance that's kind of getting louder and louder, you want to definitely pay attention to it. And ideally, we want to get really good at listening to our guidance so we don't have to get to that point where it's like smack us in the face, right? We want to kind of get there on our own. But luckily for us, if we're a little bit dense and it's taking a while for us to really hear it, it will ramp up and it will get louder and louder. Okay, then there's the guidance that we almost can't ignore. And when guidance comes through, because it is a matter of life and death, it will be in your face, loud and persistent. And usually you'll actually hear a voice telling you to be careful about something. And you know, if you're a fan of Doreen Virtue, you probably have heard her story where she shared that years ago she was a victim of an armed carjacking, and that guidance was very loud in her ear saying, scream with all your might. And she did, and it caught the attention of a bystander who came, you know, over, and it scared off the attacker, right? If you've read my stories, I had a very similar situation happen to me when I was on a safari in Africa. And we were camping in tents, and on our last night out in the bush, I woke up in the middle of the night and some animal came around the side of the tent where I was sleeping and started pawing against the tent wall, which was right up against my arm, and then decided to lay down right against me, and it was very big. And I was freaking out, like I was like about to, you know, hyperventilate or whatever, and I just heard a man's voice in my ear that said, lie still. And all that franticness and fear just drained out of me, and I just, you know, laid down and, you know, didn't move, and then eventually got up and went away. And we later heard and saw the prints, and we knew that that was a leopard. So if I had started to freak out, I mean, that thing would have probably been through the tent wall, had me by the neck, and up the nearest tree, right? But I listened to that guidance, and it was very persistent, but in a way that it didn't freak me out more. It was calming. It was a calming voice and a calming presence, even though it was warning me of danger, right? And it doesn't always have to be that auditory guidance either. It can be a very strong physical feeling that you get, like, oh, better listen to this, you know. And that also happened to me years ago when my husband and I first moved to Alberta, and we were climbing up this mountain with some friends, and we got to a point that I just didn't feel comfortable, and I said, I think we need to turn around and go back down, but we didn't know where we were. And my husband started going one way, and I just had this full-on, like, stop, like, don't move one more step. And we knew, like, or I knew, I'm like, don't do that. And then in that moment, other people came, and they were like, hey, do you need help? You're going the wrong way. And we were like, okay. So they said, come with us, and they kind of showed us the way out. And you know, so that kind of guidance, right? You won't really ignore that guidance, because it is persistent, loud, and you have a sense that this matters. I better listen. And obviously the repercussion of not listening is a very not so good outcome, right? So I just wanted to share that situation with you too, in case that ever comes up, because you don't want to get all in your head about that and be like, should I listen? Shouldn't I listen? Like, you know, just trust me and listen to that if and when you're ever in that situation. All right, but generally, you know, nothing bad is going to happen if you don't listen to your guidance. And like I said, most of the time you're going to miss it on first, second, third, fourth, maybe even the fifth time, right? It takes a while to hone, like I said, that intuitive muscle, but the more you practice, you know, trusting it and following it, like I said, you're going to see over time that it, you know, you have better success when you do trust and follow it, right? And that's the goal. That's where we want to get to that point where it's like a no-brainer anymore. We don't even like get all in our head about it and start thinking, is it guidance? Isn't it guidance? Should I do this? Shouldn't I do? You know, it's just like you just follow it because you feel so good. It's like somebody having your back, and they know, right? So you're like, okay, I'm being guided. I'm gonna follow what I'm being guided to do. Not all this craziness in my head that often will take you away on a detour all over the place, like straying away from your path and your purpose and all of that, right? So we want to stay on task and, you know, fulfill what we're here to do, and that's what guidance is all about, right? So if that's something that you're still feeling like you're struggling with, that you do get too much in your head about it, and even when it comes, you're still not sure, and all these kinds of things, then that's what we're going to really go into depth on at Connect the Power Within. It's my weekend retreat happening June 8th to the 10th. We are almost sold out, but there's just a couple spots left. So go to connectthepowerwithin.com, check it out. that's speaking to you, you know, that's guidance, right? If that's speaking to you and you feel like this is exactly what I need in this moment, then I would absolutely love to have you join us. It's going to be magnificent. The mountains are beautiful right now, and lots of great wildlife. We're going to go outside. We'll be also having a great, very exclusive crystal shopping experience. We're going to have some champagne. We're going to kick it all off with, and you will get to commune with like-minded soul sisters who are also on this journey of helping to really get good at accessing, decoding, and trusting their inner guidance too, so that you can move forward with fearless action, right? It's not enough to take action on your guidance. You want to be able to do that fearlessly without getting all hung up in the worry and the anxiety and the, you know, should I, shouldn't I, all of that, right? So that's what we're going to talk about at Connect to the Power Within. As I said, go take a look. That's the website, connecttothepowerwithin.com. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer those for you. So that's it for this week's episode, guys. Enjoy. If this was helpful, please, please, please share it out. Help other people get this information so they can get better at working with their intuitive guidance. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great week, everybody.